I didn't even know how to code back then, right? Not knowing how to code could be a huge liability, but knowing how to code could open up a world of opportunities for you, right? That is when I decided that it's sort of like important to go through the process of understanding the fundamentals, and I had a very strong why as to why I had to join Pesto, right? I really needed some help there.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Humans of Pesto. Today we have another Pesto alum with us, Harish. Harish, really nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So let's get right into it, man. Let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. I'm Harish. I'm originally from Coimbatore. I did my schooling there, at my college there. SBOA, and then college was SKCET. I did electricals, and then currently I'm a software developer at a Korean MNC.
So you worked at Freshworks, you worked at Zoho, you're currently with a Korean MNC. Tell us a little bit more about that. What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, so as I said, Zoho was my first software development sort of a job, right? And the learning curve was pretty steep, right? Every single day, since Zoho being a startup and this new products getting built, I mean, Zoho isn't just like one product, but rather like they've got like 50 different products, right?
Yeah.
And the project that I was pushed into, it was a very nascent sort of a project. It was right at the very inception, and the team was just getting formed. And they did not know that, I know pretty much nothing about coding, right? But then I worked sort of hard. I sort of adapted to it, I guess, because there was a lot of, how startups can be, right? It's very fast paced, and, you got to meet the deadlines every single day. So, I mean, my colleagues were a little supportive, so that really helped me a lot. But I would say the difference between the current company that I work at and Zoho is that, at Zoho, there's a lot of new features getting built, there's new products getting built. But then the MNC being an MNC, there's not a lot of new features getting added, but rather, just a little optimization work, bug fixes and sort of things like that. But then I'm not saying that, this is any lesser or anything of the sort, because, whatever it is that we do here, it affects a lot of people because we're doing it at scale at an MNC, because there's a lot of people using the product, right? Whereas the startup is more focused on just shipping it and then fixing and optimizing it later, because the amount of customers who might be using that particular product is a lot less. So optimization might not be the most important thing on their scale, whereas an MNC would be more focused on optimization. So I got to see two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's extremely valuable. And did you face any challenges in this journey?
At Zoho, right? Okay, since I do not have this proper computer science background, right? And a lot of my peers, they were computer science graduates, because there are things that seem to be very evident to them that just doesn't come to me easily. Like even the things that they wouldn't have known before, right? But because the fundamentals were strong, they were able to pick it up very easily. No matter how much I tried, I just kept on playing catch up. That is when I decided that it's sort of like important to go through the process of understanding the fundamentals, and and this is the hard part, right? I tried to figure it out by myself for a long time. But no matter how much I tried, right, the fact is that when it comes to development, when it comes to JavaScript especially, right, it's a whole, it's a big ocean. You don't even know where to start, where to finish, what are the important things, what are relevant, what are not relevant, So I spent a lot of time figuring, is this important, or watching a lot of videos. But still, I had to do all of that, work by myself on top of learning it. And then I did not have a proper structure going through the process, and I kept on forgetting things. I didn't know, there's a lot of overthinking happening. But yeah, that is when I decided that, we got to put ourselves through, a program sort of that is going to teach me all the fundamentals, that's going to keep me sort of like leveled with the other colleagues that I have, right?
Understood.
So yeah, that is kind of the reason why I had to join Pesto.
Did it actually help you?
A lot. So I came across Pesto on this PR Biceps channel, and
Thank you, Ranveer.
Yeah, that's where I came across, and at that point I wasn't even looking for some program like that, but then you guys were there, and I reached out, and the person who I talked to was very professional. He basically called out all my problems that I would normally have, because it's not just me, but there's a lot of other students who are struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
And I resonated with that a lot. And yeah, okay, this is exactly what I'm dealing with, man. Okay, and I had a very strong why as to why I had to join Pesto, right? I really needed some help there.
So
which is to-
the structure and telling
yeah.
you what you should be doing as compared to you figuring out what you need to do and then getting to it.
Exactly.
That is what stood out to you the most.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, so when I got into the program, I do not know how it was gonna go or anything of that sort, right? But yeah, the content as to okay, Pesto has structured the program in a way that okay, these are the most important things that would be relevant. These would have the most amount of impact in your career. So those are things I could sort of like as soon as I saw it, I knew okay because these were the exact same questions that were asked in most of my interviews, and these were the questions that these hiring managers wanted to know if I knew or not, right? Okay, but I did note it down somewhere and sort of like matched, right? Okay, that's when I knew, okay, these guys know what they're talking about, right? The
Yeah.
program is actually, there's a lot of benefit to it. I would say that, this mentor sessions that I had at Pesto, that really helped a lot because basically what you do is that there's 5 of you because you don't feel lonely, right? You don't want just you singled out and learning because you're grouped with a couple of other people where you learn together and you'd be assigned a mentor. And that was perfect for me because I could clear out, I had like a million questions in my mind, right? Okay, and I was really proactive about that, I'd say that. But yeah, he was really helpful, my mentor, and I still keep in touch with him till this day, right? Because he's helped me so much, and I try to provide value back to him as much as I can as well because he's been great in my life, right? And yeah, I guess the structuring part, and there's a lot of unknowns in my career which Pesto really shed a lot of light on. So as I told you, I'm not from a CS background, and that has been a major blocker for the past couple of years for me, right? So Pesto's community really helped me out in that way, right? Because I had other developers who were on the same league as me, wanting to get better at certain things, and we were sort of helping each other out, and that really played out during the project building phase at Pesto, right? So what happened was that you basically got to pair with a couple of other developers and got to build a product, right? And the person that I paired with, he was a backend guy and I was a front end guy, right? And that was really good for me because if it had not been for him, I would not have learned how to properly write APIs because he gave me so much input, and I just he would be writing 5 APIs and I'd be writing 2 APIs, and it really shed a lot of light on the backend side of things, which was a huge black box for me forever, right? And he learned a lot from me as well because I've been embedded in the front end space as well. And second thing is that I still have a mentor that I still talk to. He still guides me through a lot of different things, and he's so much senior to me, and yeah, that's been paying off like crazy.
No, that sounds lovely. I'm glad you could make the most of the community, and that learning became a sort of fun thing, where you just even though it was very minor stuff about how to write an API, I'm glad you got that exposure in a very organic manner. I think that's exactly what we aim to achieve. What were the kind of projects that you guys worked on?
When it comes to interviews, right? Okay, when it comes to interviews, and when your hiring manager or when your recruiter sort of go through your resume to see, or your LinkedIn to see what sort of projects you've worked on, the project has got to be something that they can relate with. If it's something that is very very obscure to them, they're not gonna understand it, right? Okay, but if it's something that they can relate, something that they've worked with as well, some tool that they've worked with, and you were able to do it in a much better way, they'd be able to, oh yeah, I totally understand this, man. Okay, you did all of this, great, yeah, great. Okay, so I had to find some idea like that they would be able to resonate with, right?
Got it.
So we were, jamming, brainstorming as to what that could be, and we decided that we do something sort of like Jira itself, this ticketing software.
Yeah.
But we had to throw in a lot more other features so that we can sort of signal to the people there, okay, we know our shit, right?
So is there any other way that you think people can stand out to recruiters especially?
Yeah, so I think the best way to approach this is to work backwards, okay, reverse engineer this thing, right? So yeah, there's 2 things that I want to touch on, before getting into that, and that I would say is the inherent value and the perceived value. A lot of developers, really great developers that I've seen, they have a lot of inherent value, as in they're pretty strong at what they do. But then the problem is that they don't go too far in their career, or at least not as fast enough, because they do not have the perceived value. And what do I mean by perceived value? It's basically what other people think of you. Do they know you as a good developer? Are you a very good authority when it comes to development, right? Those are questions, if it is a no, then that's something that you got to work on. Because once you get to that point, life becomes a whole lot easier for you. Opportunities are right there, and you'd be able to access them easily. just imagine if you are pretty popular in LinkedIn because you put out a lot of tech content. There's a lot of followers who follow you for the problems that they face that you solve for in your content, right? That is a lot of value that you can provide using social media.
That's true.
And when you provide value like that, you're gonna gain following, and eventually that's going to lead up to more opportunities, because investors, let's say in the future, if you want to start a business and investors want to look at your profile, that's going to pay off because there's so many people following you. There's so many good content that you post. You become an authority right there.
Yeah.
Right?
I think one thing to note here would be that people, I think, assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, people assume that you have to be really smart or extremely good at what you do to put out content there. But I think the thing that people forget the most is that the content or the thoughts that work are the ones that are the most relatable.
Exactly.
So I think anyone and everyone should start at some point. Exactly. But as long as you're being relatable and you're putting out true content that you believe in, it goes a long, long way. So perceived value, you mentioned that branding, your social branding plays a very pivotal role. Is there anything else that people can do to improve their perceived value?
Apart from LinkedIn, I guess, open source is something that you can explore.
Okay.
Because LinkedIn is more of like, recruiters, let's say, they do not actually know how to code, but it's a good signaling for them, right? Okay. But actual startups who you are vying to get into, those people care about your hard skills. And the best way to signal that is through open source. So what they're looking for is somebody who can take ownership of things.
Correct.
Who can just like give the work to you, and then you're going to solve it, you're going to do it, patch it up, and just give it back to them. That's what they're looking for, right? And those are the jobs that are very high paid as well. And you don't get micromanaged, so everybody wins in the situation, right?
Correct.
And the best way for yourself is to learn is through doing open source, because you're going to be working by yourself, you're going to be figuring things out by yourself, you're not going to be seeking out help a lot, or at least not as much, right, as you would as a junior developer, let's say, right? You're not going to be doing that. So open source, when you started off, that's going to pay off. It's not going to pay off right away. That's going to take some time, but it's going to compound. And if you're the person who thinks long term, this is a very good option for you, because results are going to shoot off.
So I think, just to sum up, the two things that you mentioned was inherent value, which is your hard skills and your fundamentals, which you need to be able to constantly upskill yourself at work and stay relevant. The second was perceived value, right? Which was primarily building a social brand for yourself. That was one. Picking side projects and having side projects to show for was another, and obviously making sure they're relevant. And lastly was making open source contributions. So that would be extremely strong signaling to recruiters and potential employers and managers that you know what you're talking about and you're someone that they can trust. And I think that's the biggest thing, to be able to show to your recruiter that you can trust me before they've even spoken to you for the first time. But I had a lovely time chatting with you. And before we close, do you have any parting thoughts?
First off, just thank you for having me here. I never thought that I'd end up here, because a couple of years I was just completely confused, but right now I've gotten to a level where I'm pretty clear about how things work, and all thanks to you, firstly. And to the viewers, if you're struggling, you're just moving forward. Keep pushing, I guess. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really powerful statement. If you're struggling, you are moving forward. And I think we're a little hard on ourselves sometimes, where we sort of assume we're the only ones in it. But I think all of us go through a period of confusion and lack clarity, but I think it all works out at the end if you just put our heads down and keep working at it. But no, thank you so much, Harish, for coming on here and sharing your journey with us. I really love talking with you, and I'm sure our viewers enjoyed this as well. And I'm really excited to see where you end up in the next couple of years, and I wish you all the very best, man. Take care.
Likewise, man.